Hello, today's lesson is regarding interest. Interest is a charge for money that is borrowed or paid for money that is invested. Interest is calculated differently from most of the lessons in this unit. It involves a very specific equation or formula. I equals PRT, and these variables are not to be confused with our part equals rate times total. We'll go ahead in a few moments and discuss what these variables mean. Each variable in this formula has a different meaning. Interest, which is the I as mentioned, is the amount that's earned if we invest money or the amount that we're charged if we borrow money. Principal, which is the P, is the amount of money that's borrowed or invested. So when you hear P, it's not talking about part, it's talking about the principal, which means the main money we've invested or borrowed. The interest rate, R, is the percent charged or earned. So that R is going to be, just like in the past, it's going to be our rate, our percent rate. Time, which is the T, is the amount of time that the money is borrowed or invested. So interest is what we're usually looking for. Principal is the amount of money. Interest rate, we have to convert like to a decimal, just like we have in the past. And this is important. Time is in years. If they give it to us in months or anything else, we have to convert it so that it is a part of a year. So, for instance, if I had 6 months, I would need to convert that to 1/2 of a year. So let's see what this looks like. Find the interest if the principal is $1,800, the interest rate is 7 9/10%, and the time is 2 years. So this is pretty straightforward. We want to know the interest, so that will stay the variable. They've mentioned that the principal is $1,800. The interest rate is 7.9%, and the time is 2 years. So we're going to keep I an I. We don't know what that is, so it stays a variable. And then we're going to fill in the following variables. We are given the principal, and we have to multiply that times the interest rate, and then we have to multiply that times the years. The time is years. So we're going to keep the I again. Principal, they told us, is $1,800. Then we're going to multiply times 7.9%, and then we're going to multiply times years, and fortunately they give us years. So I'd prefer to use parentheses because those dots get very messy looking. We're going to now convert this interest rate into a decimal. So we get rid of the percentage sign. Notice how there's already a decimal there. So I'm going to scoop it back twice and put a placement 0, and that's where the decimal is. So again, it might be safer if you have this to just use your calculator and divide by 100. It will put the decimal where it needs to be. This is a placement 0. Here's my decimal, 0.79. And then times 2. So we're going to multiply times 2 years. The good thing about multiplication is we can multiply, if we're doing this by hand, by any in any order because of the commutative property. So for instance, I might decide that I want to multiply 1,800 times 2 because that's something I can do in my head. That's 3,600. And then times our interest rate. And what I like about doing it just 2 at a time in my head is I can stop and see if that's reasonable. So at this point, since we do have calculators, go ahead and take 1,800 times 2 times 0.079, and let's see what we have. And the interest rate should be 284.4. And so since this is money, we want to attach a 0. So our interest is $284.40. Since we have so much on the page, I'd like you to go ahead and circle that. All right, using what we just finish doing, I'd like you to see if you can set this up using this formula. Interest equals principal times rate times total. See if you can fill in or substitute for the variables. So the I stays because we're trying to find the interest. The principal they gave us, and this time was invested, is $2,500. The interest rate that was given is 3%. And the time in years was 5 years. So hopefully this is what you have. Now I can't multiply yet because I have one more step before I can multiply. If you thought that step was to move the decimal, you were correct. So it's $2,500 times 0.03. We had to divide by 100 times 5. So pause, use your calculator, and please write the answer. And the answer is $375. So Kira invested $2,500 in her retirement account. She earned 3% each year and left the principal in account for 5 years, and so she earned $375. Okay, let's take a look at this last one that we're going to do together, and then we're going to be asked to try some independently. It says calculate the interest. It gives us the principal, the rate, and the time. So it's pretty straightforward except for this. Remember, time has to be in years, and they're giving me months. So I'm going to write 9 months out of 12 months in a year. And then if we reduce that, and if you recall how to reduce, you find a common factor, and so we would get 3/4. So we're going to use 3/4 of a year in our formula. So that I equals, the principal is 1,200, the percent is 8%, and the year is 3/4. Now if you have a calculator at home, that's going to be very helpful. If you use that, 3/4 also, if you turn it into a decimal, we would take 3 divided by 4, and 3/4 is equivalent to 0.75. So that's an option too. So in your calculator, we have to make 8% into a decimal by dividing by 100. And if you don't have a calculator that will convert to a fraction, we could do it by dividing the top number divided by the bottom number. So take time and do that, please. And hopefully you had the interest is $72. And I also want to let you know that we're talking about, it's called simple interest. It's pretty straightforward. However, there are many different types of interest, particularly on credit cards and different ways, mortgages, the way that they, what's called compound interest, and that's for another day. So would you please continue and try the rest of the problems on your own? Thanks so much. Bye-bye.